Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another video. There's been a lot of talk about what makes a good hero, and one of the things I keep hearing about, especially for recent heroes, is that a hero needs to be fearless. And that rubs me the wrong way. When I look at a lot of heroes in pop culture, I see that they do indeed have fears, and that their journey is overcoming those fears to do the right thing. In fact, I would even go as far to say that fearlessness is actually a tragic flaw. So today, I'm going to wax on about the hero's journey. That it's not being fearless, but doing the right thing despite all those internal fears that makes a hero a hero.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
But before I go any further, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I talk a lot about Star Trek, video games, and whatever else I feel like talking about. Be great to have you aboard. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about what fear is. Now, at the risk of sounding cliched in this kind of video, let's look at a couple of definitions so we all know what we're talking about. Now, a quick Google search, because I'm a little lazy, reveals that fear as a noun is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. And as a verb, it's to be afraid of someone or something as likely to be dangerous, painful, or threatening. And while we're at it, fearlessness is simply lack of fear. What I gather from these definitions is that fear, and I mean a healthy fear of course, is instinctual. It's meant to be there. It keeps us safe, or at the very least take precaution against things that would otherwise kill us. We'll always have fears because they're naturally a part of us. They're ingrained into our very being. If someone is truly fearless, lacking a certain respect for things that could very well kill them, let's be real, they won't have a very long lifespan.
I didn't have enough respect for that power, and it's out now.
Because of that, I would argue that fearlessness is akin to something like arrogance or recklessness, traits that are typically viewed as tragic flaws. I know I've been on a bit of a Rocky kick lately, but let's look at the character of Apollo Creed, a character I would describe as largely fearless. Now, I like Apollo. I like how he went from being Rocky's rival to his friend and trainer. Though I argue that Apollo's death in Rocky IV backed future stories into a corner, it does exhibit Apollo's fatal flaw, his tendency to vastly underestimate his opponent. The guy underestimated Rocky twice. So when Drago comes around in Rocky IV, Apollo challenges him to a match, and he doesn't have a fear for a guy that's pretty obviously been roided up. Heck, even from the start, Apollo's entrance proves he's not taking it seriously, putting on a full-blown music video complete with James Brown. Still, it was one hell of a show.
I feel good!
But the point is, Apollo isn't afraid of Drago, and he damn well should have been. And he ultimately pays the price, dying during the fight. It was Apollo's arrogance, his ignoring Rocky's warnings about Drago, his fearlessness, that led to his death.
It's time to go to school!
You will lose.
Now, I want to take a couple moments to talk about something called the golden mean, an idea in Greek philosophy about avoiding the extremes. Excess is bad, deficiency is bad, the middle, golden. Let's do like Aristotle and look at something like courage.
Courage.
Taken to one extreme, to an excess, courage can be recklessness, foolhardiness. But on the other extreme, a lack of courage is cowardice. The right amount of courage, however, is virtuous, even heroic. The point I'm trying to make is that when developing heroic characters, the golden mean applies. Heroes shouldn't be fearless, or at the very least if they are, it's a flaw that they need to overcome. They also shouldn't be cowering in the corner. The hero has justifiable fears, but saddles up anyways because it's the right thing to do, or they need to accomplish something. Let me go back to talking about Rocky for a moment, because I was thinking of a scene between Rocky and his wife Adrian in Rocky III. The beautiful thing about their relationship is that Adrian looks out for Rocky, and she's the one that keeps him grounded. In Rocky III, Rocky is training to fight Clubber Lang, who I still argue killed Mickey, but that's beside the point.
Is your opinion?
It's a fact.
Rocky's heart clearly isn't in the training since Mickey's death. Apollo, now his trainer, is starting to lose faith in him.
It's over. It's all over.
So Adrian confronts Rocky about what's bothering him, and Rocky reveals something.
What's the truth, damn it?
I'm afraid! All right?
That's right. Rocky Balboa, one of the prime examples of masculinity in American pop culture, is afraid. He explains that before, in other words, the first movie, if he lost, he was the only one that suffered. But now, he's got a wife, he's got a kid, they have a nice house. There are people depending on him, and he doesn't want to lose everything and let everyone down. He's also afraid that because Mickey selected his opponents after he became heavyweight champion, all of the fights he fought since were just setups, that he's not really the fighter or the man that he thinks he is. Rocky Balboa is human.
There's nothing wrong with being afraid.
There is. For me, there is.
Why, you're human, aren't you?
It's Adrian that reminds him that there's nothing wrong with being afraid, that anything he loses can be replaced. And don't you dare bring up Rocky 5. She grounds him in this scene, telling him that he's the one that has to confront his fears and guilt that he's carrying in order to fight Clubber, or it'll bother him for the rest of his life. She even says that if he loses, at least he loses with no excuses, no fear. And Rocky does overcome all of this. He fights Clubber and he triumphs in the end in what is arguably the best Rocky sequel.
Are you all right?
Never better.
But I know, enough talk about Rocky. Let's head off into the sci-fi realm. Luke Skywalker, the quintessential hero's journey. And of course I'm talking about his arc in the original trilogy because I'm not a big fan of what they did to him in the sequel trilogy. But if you recall The Empire Strikes Back, Luke seeks out Yoda to train him as a Jedi. But Yoda is a tad resistant to the idea, even getting into a ghost argument with Ben.
He is too old.
Why don't you just say you won't train him because you don't like his haircut while you're at it?
I promise, not too much off the top.
Yoda warns Luke about the commitment he's about to make and the chance of failure. But, in for credit and for whatever the Star Wars equivalent of a pound is, Luke commits to training, saying he's not afraid, to which Yoda eerily responds,
You will be. You will be.
And you know what? Yoda was right. Luke isn't fearless and does indeed develop fears from this point on. The fear of confronting his own father, the fear of falling to the dark side, the fear of what he might become. It's those fears that he has to confront in order to defeat the Emperor, to restore the Jedi Order, to bring peace to the galaxy, even to save his own father. Did having those fears make Luke any less of a hero? Of course not. It made him human and relatable. But it was facing his fears and staying on the light side, even though he could die, that made him a hero.
I've got to save you.
You already have.
There are countless examples of the hero overcoming fears to do what is right. Adrian Monk overcomes his multitude of fears to solve crimes on Monk. Dorothy, in The Wizard of Oz, embarks on a scary journey to get the Wicked Witch's shoes so she can return home. Heck, even SpongeBob SquarePants got over his fear of going outside to save Sandy and Patrick from a gorilla. Even SpongeBob has a hero's arc. Let that sink in.
I'm not scared of going outside anymore, but I'm terrified of gorillas now.
But of course, this entire video is to say that heroes should have fears. It's a part of human nature and makes them relatable. It's not the absence of fear that makes a hero, but rather the struggle to overcome fear to do what needs to be done. I think this line from Disney's The Princess Diaries really captures this idea.
Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear.
But hey, all of this is just my opinion. But now what do you think? Is it the ability to confront fear that is part of the hero's journey? Do heroes need fears to make them more relatable and give them something to overcome? Or did I completely miss the mark on this? Please, leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another video. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
How does it feel to be a hero?
You tell me.